There was a hymn book open on my lap, the thick black Ausbund that has been in my husband's family since before his grandmother was born, and I was holding it to the right page, on the third bench, in Mary Yoder's front room, on a cold Sunday in the middle of March. I was 24 years old that winter, 3 years married, with a baby asleep against my shoulder, and I could not read one word on the page in front of me. Not one word. I knew the hymn. I knew all of them, every verse, every slow line the song leader draws out until the whole room comes in under him, and I had learned them the way a person learns the way to the woodpile in the dark, by going there over and over until the body remembers what the eyes were never asked to. Nobody in that room knew. Keeping it so that nobody in that room knew was the quiet work of my whole life, and I was good at it. The way a woman gets good at anything she does every day without being thanked for it. What I did not know, sitting there with the page open and the letters gone soft as breath, was that 8 months later, a stranger in town would ask me one plain question that nobody in my whole life had ever thought to ask me, and that I would not have an answer for him. I married Amos Troyer when I was 21, in November, at my parents' place, and I moved 4 miles down the road into the house his grandmother had died in. Our district is a plain one, in Pennsylvania. The ordnung we keep is the ordnung his father kept. Our church is held in homes, every other Sunday, the benches carried in on a wagon the day before, and the front room emptied of everything but the benches and the smell of soap. I wear a cap and a pinned apron. We drive a buggy, and we carry no insurance, and we do not go to doctors unless a person is bleeding or broken. My schooling ended at the 8th grade, the way it ends for all of us, and I was glad of it at the time. I could speak Pennsylvania Dutch to my grandmother, and English to the man at the feed store, and I thought that was all the world would want of me. The first thing I gave up when I married was not a thing anybody could see, and it took me years to understand that I had given it up at all. I gave up the house I had memorized. I had lived 21 years in my mother's kitchen. I knew it the way you know a hymn. I knew that the third stair creaked and the fourth did not, that the salt sat 2 hands to the left of the stove, that the clothesline post was 11 steps off the porch and the gate was 4 steps past it. I never once had to look. I moved through that house like water moves through a channel it has already cut, and nobody in 21 years ever had cause to say that there was anything wrong with me. Then I married, and I walked into a strange, dark house in November with my dresses over my arm, and every single thing in it was in the wrong place. I bruised both my hips on that grandmother's table for a month. I put my hand flat into a lamp chimney that was still hot because I did not see it standing where the sugar had been at home. Amos laughed kindly, the way a young husband laughs, and said I was a dreamer, and I laughed too, because that was the word my own mother had always used, and because I did not have a word for it yet. It went on like that, in small pieces, for 3 years, and not one of the pieces was big enough to carry to anybody. In the cellar, I wrote my canning labels in letters as tall as my thumb: tomatoes, beets, chow-chow, pickled corn, and I still could not read them from the bottom step, so I learned the shelves instead. Beets on the left, always. Tomatoes at eye height. If a woman came to help me and set the jars back in a different order, I would lose a whole afternoon, and I would say I was scatterbrained, and she would agree with me, kindly. I threaded my needles by feel, wetting the thread and finding the eye with my thumbnail, and when my sister-in-law watched me do it once, she said I had a real gift for it, and I said nothing at all. The worst of it was the road. A buggy would come along the ridge road, and I would know it was a buggy and not know whose, not until it was close enough that I could hear the horse and count the beat of it and know Enos Miller's mare from her feet alone. So I stopped raising my hand first. I waited. I let them wave, and then I waved back, and I was always half a second behind, the way a person is when she does not quite mean it. Katie, our bishop's wife, told my mother-in-law that I had grown proud since my wedding. That is the word she used. Proud. She had come out of the store one afternoon and raised her hand to me across the whole length of the lot. and I had walked onto the hitching rail without turning my head, because to me she was a dark blue shape beside a white shape, and could have been anybody, and I was too tired that day to guess and be wrong again. I cried in the buggy over that, which I am not proud of. She had done nothing to me. She had waved at a woman she loved, and the woman had walked away. I did not have a word for it yet. I only had the shame of it, which I had a great deal of, and which I kept where I kept everything else. It was the first week of October when it stopped being a shame and turned into something else. I had taken the buggy to my sister's with the baby on my lap and stayed later than I meant to, and we came home in that last hour when the light goes flat and gray and the ditches and the road turn into one single thing. Past the Miller's Crossroad, there was a hay wagon standing in our lane with no lantern on it, and I did not see it. I want to be plain about that. I did not see it at all, not as a shape, not as a shadow, not as anything. The mare saw it. She stopped herself and set back, and the shafts came up, and the baby slid down my front, and I caught her by one arm. We sat there in the road. My hands would not come loose from the lines for a long while. And what I thought, sitting there, was not thank God. What I thought was that the mare had done my seeing for me for 3 years, and I had let her, and that one day she would be in the pasture, and my daughter would be out by the road, and I would call out to the wrong shape. If you have ever sat in a room full of people and made yourself small so that nobody would find out what you cannot do, then you already know the whole of this story, and you did not need me to tell it. You can subscribe if you would like to sit with me again on the other Sundays. And if that has been you, in your own house, in your own way, I hope you will say so in the comments below, because I have come to believe there are a great many of us, sitting very still, being good at it. I told Amos that night, at the table, after the lamp was lit and the baby was down. I did not tell it well. I had no words for what was wrong in me, so I told him about the wagon, and then about the labels in the cellar, and then about Katie in the store lot, and by the time I got to the schoolhouse I was crying and he had stopped eating. He did not say much. My husband is not a hard man, and I will not have him made into one. He is a careful man from a careful people, and what was going through him at that table was arithmetic, plain and simple. We carry no insurance. There is no company that will send anything for a thing like this. Whatever is needed comes out of what is in the coffee tin, or it comes from the alms fund, and to go to the deacon for the alms fund is to say out loud in front of the men who have known you since you were 9 that you cannot manage your own house. He said we will see about it after the canning is done. So I waited through the canning. I put up 200 and some quarts that fall and never once said a word more about it, because I had already had my turn at the table and a woman only gets the one. Then, on a Wednesday evening in the middle of November, he came in from the barn with hay in his beard and said, "Get Mary to take the little one Thursday." He had made the call from the shanty at the end of the lane. He had made it days earlier and had not told me, which is his way. Town was 40 minutes. I remember the waiting room better than I remember the ride. Carpet the color of oatmeal, and a rack of magazines I could not read, and a girl at the desk who asked me twice for the name of our insurance, and then stopped asking and wrote something down. Amos sat with his hat on his knees and looked at the floor, the way our men do inside an English building. Then a door opened at the far end of the room and a man said my name, and I stood up, and the last thought I had before I went through it was that they were going to tell me I had wasted his money. The room inside was small and dark, and there was a chart lit up on the far wall, black letters on a white square, big at the top and smaller going down. He asked me to read it. I read the top letter. Then I sat there. I could see that there were more rows under it, the way you can see that there is more weather coming, and I did the thing I had done my whole life, which was to guess with my chin up, and I said a letter, and I said another one, and I heard my own voice doing it, and I stopped. I said, "I am sorry. I cannot." He did not say anything for a moment. Then he turned the lamp up and turned his chair around so that he was facing me instead of the chart, and he asked me, very quietly, how long. I said, "How long what?" He said, "How long has it been like this?" And I said the only true thing I had, which was that it had always been like this, that I did not know there was another way for it to be, that I had thought everybody's far side of the field was soft, and everybody's faces came clear at 11 steps, and everybody kept the shelves in order so they would not have to read the jars. He sat with that. He is an Englishman, and I do not think he had ever been in one of our homes in his life, and I want to say plainly that he never said one word against my people, not then and not after. He only asked the second question, and it is the one I have carried since, and I will say it exactly as he said it. He said, "When was the last time somebody asked you what you could see?" Nobody ever had. Not my mother, not the teacher who moved me to the front bench in the 2nd grade, and never wrote a note home about why, not the bishop, not my husband, not my own self. In 24 years, not one person had ever asked me that question, and it had never once occurred to me that it was a question a person could be asked. That is what I would like the wives listening to hear. It was not kept from me. It was simply never asked, by anybody, ever, including me. He answered me before I could get my breath. He said, "Nothing is wrong with your eyes, they were only never measured." He put a heavy frame on my face and began turning glass into it, and asked which was better, this or this, and on the 4th turn, the whole far wall came forward and stood up and had edges. I have not got the words for it. I said, "Oh," just that, out loud, like a fool, in front of a strange man. "Oh, the frames we chose were plain wire, no gold on them, because that is our way, and because I asked for them so." Our bishop looked at them the following Sunday and said what I already knew he would say, that a thing a person needs is not adornment, and that was the end of any talk about it, though my mother-in-law used the word vanity once in her own kitchen, and then took it back before the week was out, and has never used it since. She is a good woman. She had never seen a thing like that in our family before, and people are careful with what they have not seen. What I remember of that first week is not the road signs, though I read every one of them out loud like a schoolgirl until Amos begged me to quit. It is that my husband has a small white scar through his left eyebrow from a hay hook when he was 12. 3 years I had been married to him. 3 years I had washed his shirts and had his child, and I had never once seen his face from across a room. It is that my daughter has eyelashes. She was 18 months old, and I sat on the floor of that kitchen and looked at my own baby's eyelashes and could not get up. And it is the next G-May, 2 weeks after, at Sam Beeler's place, on the 3rd bench again with the Ausbund open on my lap. The song leader lined out the first verse, and I did not have to reach into the back of my head for it and haul it up. It was there, on the page, where it had been the whole time, waiting on me, for 24 years. I got through about 4 lines of it, and then I had to hand the baby to my sister and go stand in the wash house for a while. I have thought a great deal about why nobody found it, and I want to be fair, because it would be easy to be otherwise, and it would not be true. Nobody in my community did me any harm over this, not one soul. My mother thought I was a dreamer because I was a dreamer, and also because I could not see. The teacher moved me forward because that is what you do with a child who squints, and it worked, so there was nothing more to think about. Amos did not take me because we do not go for a thing that is not bleeding or broken, and because there was no money set by for it, and because I never told him, and I never told him because I did not know there was anything to tell. That is the whole of it. A thing you have carried since you were a small child does not feel like a burden. It feels like the shape of the world. You do not complain about the shape of the world. You get good at it, and then you get so good at it that even you forget it is there, and you go on being the woman who is a little slow at the road and a little proud at the store and a little scatterbrained in her own cellar for 24 years. So this is the thing I would want another wife to hear, if she is sitting where I was sitting. Nobody is going to come and ask you. There is no year in a woman's life when somebody sits her down and asks her what she can see, or what she can hear, or what she has been managing around since she was 9 years old. It has to be you that says it, out loud, once, to somebody, Even if your voice goes to pieces at the table, and even if it is a full year before anything comes of it, you are not being proud. You are not being ungrateful. You are asking to be measured, which is a small and ordinary thing, and you have my blessing to ask. Thank you for sitting with me. Go gently this week, and if there is one thing you have been managing around, say it out loud to somebody who loves you. I wrote it all down, everything I was never able to say in our district, in my book, A Quiet and Faithful Home, and it is sitting in the pinned comment below, if it should ever be a comfort to you.